According to the FBI, Minneapolis ranks among 13 U.S. cities with high concentrations of human trafficking.
Story, the NYPD looking for two people after an attempted kidnapping.
Special agents of Homeland Security Investigation are out there targeting these trafficking organizations.
3:47 a.m., Denver, Colorado. A freezing mist clings to the streets of the Capitol Hill district. Temperature hovers at 14 degrees Fahrenheit. The city sleeps. But beneath the amber glow of sodium streetlights, 189 federal agents from the FBI, ICE, and IRS Criminal Investigation Division move into position. They wear tactical black. Night vision goggles cast green halos across their faces. Breath rises in clouds. No sirens, no lights. Radio silence holds until the command is given. At the Denver City and County Building, a 6-agent breaching team stacks at a service entrance on the east wing. A hydraulic ram locks into position. The team leader raises a fist, drops it. The ram thuds once. The steel door buckles inward. Alarms shriek through marble corridors. Flashlight beams cut across oil paintings of former mayors. Agents pour inside, boots echoing off terrazzo floors. They descend a staircase behind the mayor's ceremonial office, through a maintenance corridor, and into a subterranean room that does not appear on any building schematic. Inside that room, agents find $34 million in bundled cash, stacked floor to ceiling on industrial shelving, shrink-wrapped in plastic, sorted by denomination. Beside the money sit 14 filing cabinets containing classified municipal documents, forged property deeds, and the personal financial records of 23 elected officials across the state of Colorado. The man whose office sits directly above this vault is Denver Mayor Richard Caldwell, 54, a 3-term incumbent once celebrated as a champion of transparency and civic reform. He is not in the building. He is at his $2.1 million estate in Cherry Creek, where a second team is already at the door. This operation, codenamed Iron Corridor, took 22 months to build. It started with a single suspicious wire transfer flagged by a bank compliance officer. If you want the full truth, hit like so this story reaches more people. The operation had a code name, Iron Corridor. For 22 months, federal investigators had been mapping a corruption network so deeply embedded in Denver's political infrastructure that dismantling it required authorization from the U.S. Attorney General's office directly. To understand how they caught them, we go back to the beginning. March 11, 2024, 9:42 a.m. A compliance officer at First Bank, Colorado, Jennifer Whitfield, 37, flagged a wire transfer during a routine audit. The transfer moved $9,800 from a Denver municipal account to a shell entity registered in Cheyenne, on Wyoming, called Front Range Consulting Group, LLC. The amount sat just below the $10,000 federal reporting threshold. Whitfield had seen this pattern before. She pulled records. In the previous 90 days, 14 similar transfers had been made from the same account, all between $8,500 and $9,900, all routed to entities in Wyoming or Nevada. Total moved, $127,400. No invoices, no contracts, no legitimate service rendered. Whitfield filed a suspicious activity report with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Within 48 hours, that report landed on the desk of FBI Special Agent Thomas Garrett at the Denver field office. Garrett, a 14-year veteran of public corruption investigations, recognized the structuring pattern immediately. He requested subpoenas for the originating municipal account. What came back stunned him. The account was administered by the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, overseen by Deputy Chief of Staff Daniel Royce, 41. Royce had sole signatory authority. No secondary approval was required. The account had been active for 6 years with minimal oversight. Garrett assembled a joint task force, FBI, IRS Criminal Investigation, ICE Homeland Security Investigations. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Colorado authorized a full-scope investigation under the RICO Act. Grand jury subpoenas were issued within 36 hours. Financial analysts began mapping the money trail. This was not a single corrupt transfer. It was the capillary system of a sprawling network. $127,400 was just the thread. What investigators pulled would unravel $34 million. If this shocks you, comment exposed below. But the wire transfer was only the surface. What federal agents found when they followed the money would reveal an empire hidden in plain sight beneath the government of Denver. The subpoenas produced 18,000 pages of financial records. IRS forensic accountants worked in shifts inside a secured room at the Byron Rogers Federal Building. Within 3 weeks, they identified 31 shell companies linked to the Denver Municipal Corruption Network. Each was registered in a different state: Wyoming, Nevada, Delaware, New Mexico, South Dakota, all states with minimal corporate disclosure requirements. Not one of the 31 entities had a physical office, a listed employee, or a verifiable client. The money moved in layers. Municipal funds earmarked for affordable housing, infrastructure repair, and public health programs were diverted through the Mayor's Office of Economic Development into Front Range Consulting Group, LLC. From there, payments scattered across the shell network. Amounts never exceeded $9,900. Over 22 months of traced activity, forensic accountants documented $34.7 million flowing through these channels with no legitimate business purpose. A portion of the funds moved offshore. $4.2 million was traced to accounts in Grand Cayman. Another $1.8 million surfaced in a Dubai-based holding company called Pinnacle Capital Holdings. $900,000 sat in a Hong Kong brokerage account registered to a name that matched no known individual. For 11 weeks, agents watched. Unmarked vehicles sat in parking garages across downtown Denver. And cameras mounted on utility poles near the city and county building captured foot traffic patterns. Tracking devices, authorized by federal warrants, were placed on 4 vehicles. Agents observed Daniel Royce, 41, making late-night visits to a commercial storage facility on East Colfax Avenue. He arrived between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. He stayed less than 20 minutes. He carried nothing visible in. He carried nothing visible out. The visits occurred every Tuesday and Thursday for 8 consecutive weeks. They watched City Councilwoman Patricia Langford, 48, meeting with real estate developers at a private dining club in Lodo. The developers left carrying manila envelopes. Langford's campaign finance disclosures showed no donations from any of them. Yet her personal bank account received 17 deposits totaling $312,000 from entities the task force had already flagged. The network map grew. Family connections emerged. Royce's brother-in-law, Craig Emerson, 44, operated a construction firm called Summit Ridge Builders. Summit Ridge had been awarded $11.3 million in city contracts over 4 years. Independent audits later revealed that 40% of those contracts involved projects that were never completed or never started. Payments routed through Summit Ridge to Dubai, from Dubai to Grand Cayman, from Grand Cayman back to domestic accounts controlled by Royce. One company, Lakeview Property Trust LLC, claimed to manage residential real estate in Aurora. County records showed no properties under its name. Its only activity was receiving wire transfers from the city of Denver. I type yes, if you are ready to see what happened next. The storage facility on East Colfax Avenue became the task force's primary surveillance target. On June 14, 2024, FBI agents executed a federal search warrant at the location, Unit 7C of Rocky Mountain Self-Storage. The unit was registered under Craig Emerson's name. The lease had been active for 3 years. Inside, agents found a climate-controlled room that had been retrofitted with steel shelving, a commercial-grade paper shredder, and a desktop computer connected to an encrypted wireless network. On the shelves sat 42 binders. Each binder was labeled by year and department. They contained photocopied city contracts, internal budget memoranda, personnel files of Denver municipal employees, and handwritten ledgers tracking payments to individuals identified only by initials. One binder, labeled Bridge, contained the names of 23 state and local officials alongside dollar amounts and dates. Payments ranged from $5,000 to $175,000. The earliest entry was dated 2018. Digital forensics teams seized the computer and 2 encrypted external hard drives. Decryption took IRS cyber specialists 19 days. The contents were devastating. Spreadsheets tracked every diverted dollar across all 31 shell companies. A folder labeled Clearance contained scanned copies of forged inspection reports for Summit Ridge Builders projects. Another folder held draft legislation, bills introduced by City Councilwoman Langford that directly benefited developers who had funneled money into the network. Encrypted messaging logs revealed the communication architecture. And the network used a commercial encrypted platform with disappearing messages enabled, but metadata recovered from the hard drives preserved timestamps and contact identifiers. Over 4,300 messages were reconstructed. One exchange between Royce and an individual identified as Summit read, "Inspection cleared, transfer ready, move Thursday." Another, dated 2 weeks before a city council vote on a $7 million parks contract, read, "Langford confirmed, vote secured, release second payment." The corruption layer extended into regulatory agencies. A file titled Friends listed 9 city employees across building inspection, zoning, and procurement departments. Each name had a monthly payment amount beside it. A senior building inspector, Gregory Holt, 52, received $12,000 per month to approve fraudulent construction inspections. A procurement analyst, Lisa Chen, 39, received $8,500 monthly to steer contracts toward Summit Ridge Builders. If you believe this needs to be exposed, hit like now. The evidence was damning. The network was mapped. But dismantling it required a single, coordinated strike across the entire city before anyone could destroy evidence or flee. Mayor Richard Caldwell, 54, served 3 terms as Denver's chief executive. Elected first in 2015 on a reform platform promising to end backroom deals at City Hall, he built a reputation as a fiscal conservative and government transparency advocate. He chaired the National League of Cities Ethics Committee. His net worth, publicly declared at $1.4 million, actually exceeded $22 million when offshore accounts, shell company assets, and real estate holdings were included. He owned properties in Aspen, near Scottsdale, and a beachfront condominium in Naples, Florida, none disclosed on financial statements. Federal prosecutors would later describe him as the architect and primary beneficiary of the Iron Corridor Network. Daniel Royce, 41, Deputy Chief of Staff, a political operative who managed Caldwell's first campaign and never left. He controlled the Office of Economic Development's discretionary accounts. He was the network's financial engineer, designing the shell company infrastructure and managing offshore transfers. His personal accounts held $3.8 million in unexplained deposits. Patricia Langford, 48, City Councilwoman representing District 9. She introduced 14 pieces of legislation that directly benefited network-connected developers. She received $312,000 in payments through flagged entities. She voted to approve every Summit Ridge Builders contract that came before the council. Craig Emerson, 44, Royce's brother-in-law and owner of Summit Ridge Builders. He executed $11.3 million in fraudulent city contracts. He managed the East Colfax storage unit that served as the network's records vault. Gregory Holt, 52, Senior Building Inspector. He falsified 87 inspection reports over 4 years in exchange for $144,000 annually. Lisa Chen, 39, Procurement Analyst. She manipulated bidding processes to ensure Summit Ridge won contracts, receiving $102,000 per year. Each of them believed the system they had corrupted would protect them. On the morning of February 3, 2026, they learned otherwise. February 2, 2026, 8 p.m., FBI Strategic Operations Command Center, Byron Rogers Federal Building, Denver. On the wall of monitors displays satellite imagery, building schematics, and live surveillance feeds from 19 locations across the Denver metropolitan area. Red markers pulse on a digital map. Each one represents a target. Task Force Commander Special Agent Thomas Garrett stands before 189 agents assembled from FBI, ICE, HSI, IRS, and the U.S. Marshals Service. He delivers the final operations brief. Synchronization is critical. All 19 locations must be hit within a 12-minute window. No advance warning, no leaks. The execution order is issued at 3:30 a.m. At 3:45 a.m., federal tactical teams launch. At 3:47 a.m., the breaching team strikes the service entrance of the Denver City and County building. The ram fires once. The door collapses inward. 6 agents descend through the East Wing maintenance corridor. Might they reach the subterranean vault in 90 seconds? The room is exactly as surveillance suggested. $34 million in shrink-wrapped cash on steel shelving. Filing cabinets filled with classified documents. A second safe bolted to the floor requires a locksmith. Inside it, agents find 14 forged municipal bonds worth $2.3 million and a ledger listing payments to officials not yet identified by the task force. The vault is sealed as a federal crime scene. Simultaneously, at 3:48 a.m., a 12-agent team arrives at Mayor Richard Caldwell's Cherry Creek estate. The front door opens before agents reach it. Caldwell stands in the foyer wearing a bathrobe, a phone in his hand. Agents later determine he had been attempting to place a call, to whom remains classified. FBI, search warrant. At hands where we can see them. Caldwell complies without resistance. He is handcuffed in his own living room beneath a framed photograph of himself, shaking hands with the governor. Agents seize 3 laptops, 2 safes, and a shredder that is still warm. Simultaneously, at Daniel Royce's townhouse in Washington Park, agents breach the rear entrance. Royce is found in a home office attempting to wipe an encrypted hard drive. The device is seized mid-deletion. Digital forensics teams later recover 89% of the data. Royce resists briefly. He is subdued and placed in custody. At Patricia Langford's residence in Hilltop, agents execute entry at 3:51 a.m. Langford is asleep. She is arrested in her bedroom. A search of her home office produces $47,000 in cash stored in a floor safe behind a bookshelf and a burner phone containing 312 text messages linked to network contacts. At Rocky Mountain Self-Storage, agents secure Unit 7C and 3 additional units rented under aliases traced to Craig Emerson. The units contain backup copies of the network's financial records and $1.1 million in cash. By 5:15 a.m., the operation is complete. 19 locations secured. 312 individuals arrested across Denver, Aurora, Lakewood, and Colorado Springs. Not a single shot fired. Not a single suspect escaped. Comment, justice, if you believe they deserved what came next. The evidence catalog from Operation Iron Corridor filled a secured warehouse at Buckley Space Force Base. FBI inventory teams worked for 11 days to process, photograph, and log every item. Physical evidence: $34 million in U.S. currency, sorted by denomination, $22.6 million in hundreds, $8.1 million in 50s, $3.3 million in 20s and smaller bills. 17 firearms, including 3 with obliterated serial numbers. 87 falsified building inspection reports. 42 binders of handwritten financial ledgers spanning 6 years, 14 forged municipal bonds valued at $2.3 million, $1.1 million in secondary cash reserves from storage units, 23 sets of forged property deeds covering residential and commercial parcels across 5 Colorado counties. Digital forensics teams processed 11 laptops, 34 smartphones, 19 encrypted USB drives, and the 2 external hard drives from the East Colfax storage unit. The 1 laptop belonging to Daniel Royce contained a master spreadsheet tracking every transaction across all 31 shell companies from 2018 to 2026. Total documented diversions: $34.7 million. A recovered encrypted folder on Patricia Langford's burner phone contained photographs of signed checks from developers and handwritten notes mapping vote commitments on the city council. Communications analysis reconstructed 4,300 encrypted messages and 1,200 phone call records. One message from Caldwell to Royce, sent 14 months before the raid, read, "The vault is secure. No one checks below the office. Keep deliveries to Tuesday nights only." Another message chain documented Langford negotiating her payment for a specific council vote. "I need 75 upfront and 75 after the vote clears. A non-negotiable." The financial architecture revealed a closed-loop laundering system. Municipal funds entered shell companies. Shell companies paid Summit Ridge builders. Summit Ridge moved money offshore. Offshore accounts funded domestic real estate purchases under aliases. Total laundered: $34.7 million across 8 years. Share this so more people understand what was almost lost, but the numbers did not capture the real damage. Brandon Ellis, 28, was an electrician from Lakewood. He and his wife had saved for 3 years to buy their first home. They purchased a townhome in a development built by Summit Ridge Builders, financed partly with a city affordable housing grant. 8 months after moving in, the foundation cracked. An independent engineer determined the building had never passed a legitimate structural inspection. Gregory Holt had signed off on it without visiting the site. Brandon and his wife lost $187,000. Their mortgage was underwater. They moved into her parents' basement with their 2-year-old daughter. The home was condemned. It had been built on the network's lies. Ashley Moore, 34, was a nurse working night shifts at Denver Health. She volunteered with a city-funded community health outreach program. The program's budget had been gutted. $1.2 million diverted through Front Range Consulting Group LLC into the network's shell companies. The clinic she staffed lost funding for naloxone kits and addiction counseling services. In one 6-month period, 14 overdose patients arrived at her emergency room from neighborhoods the program was supposed to serve. 3 died. Ashley testified before the grand jury. She told prosecutors she had written to the mayor's office twice asking why funding had been cut. She never received a response. Across Denver, community organizations that depended on municipal grants discovered their budgets had been hollowed out. Youth sports programs, senior meal deliveries, road maintenance in underserved neighborhoods. The money had been there. It had been stolen. If this makes you angry, comment, "Never again" below. October 14th, 2026. Alfred A. Araj, United States Courthouse, Denver, Colorado. Mayor Richard Caldwell enters the courtroom in a navy suit, no tie, flanked by 2 defense attorneys. His face is drawn. He has lost weight. He does not make eye contact with the gallery. The courtroom is packed. Local and national media fill every available seat. 3 overflow rooms carry the live audio feed. The indictment lists 47 counts: conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering, bribery of public officials, theft of government funds, obstruction of justice, RICO conspiracy. Each count carries specific statutory penalties. Caldwell's defense team argues he was unaware of the shell company infrastructure, that Royce operated independently. Prosecutors present the encrypted message from Caldwell's own device referencing the vault beneath his office. They display the master spreadsheet recovered from Royce's laptop showing Caldwell's initials beside 114 transactions, totaling $8.9 million in personal diversions. They play a recorded phone call in which Caldwell instructs Royce to make sure the Cayman account is clean before the audit. The defense offers no rebuttal to the recording. The jury deliberates for 4 hours and 22 minutes. Guilty on all 47 counts. Caldwell is sentenced to 28 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole. The judge, U.S. District Judge Catherine Marsh, states, "You weaponized public trust for personal enrichment. The damage you caused to this city and its people is immeasurable." Daniel Royce, 22 years, federal prison. Guilty on 39 counts, including RICO conspiracy and money laundering. Patricia Langford, 15 years, federal prison, guilty on 24 counts, including bribery and fraud. Craig Emerson, 18 years, federal prison, guilty on 31 counts, including wire fraud and contract fraud. Gregory Holt, 8 years, federal prison, guilty on 14 counts of falsifying government records. Lisa Chen, 6 years, federal prison, guilty on 11 counts of procurement fraud. All pensions revoked, and all public honors stripped. Asset forfeiture totaled $41.3 million across properties, accounts, and seized holdings. In the aftermath, the Colorado General Assembly passed the Municipal Accountability and Transparency Act, mandating dual signatory requirements on all discretionary accounts, independent audits of city contracts exceeding $500,000, and a statewide anti-corruption task force with subpoena power. Denver's city charter was amended to require annual forensic audits of mayoral office expenditures. But the investigation was not over. Federal prosecutors confirmed that 3 individuals named in the bridge binder had not been located. One, identified only by initials, is believed to be operating from a residence in Costa Rica. The intelligence analysts connected financial patterns from Iron Corridor to similar structures detected in Phoenix, Chicago, and Atlanta. The Department of Justice estimates at least 4 comparable municipal corruption networks remain active in major American cities. The most dangerous threat is not at the border. It is already inside, sitting behind a desk in a building you paid for, spending money that was supposed to protect you. Comment your thoughts below. Hit like, so this story breaks through algorithms. Share this with anyone who believes the system will protect them without accountability. We are currently investigating a similar network operating in Phoenix, Arizona. If you want us to expose them next, subscribe.